Okay, so my topic today would be about the role of interrogative communication into this era in which we are using the chatbots, which are, I would consider them as automated communication. But we also have something else, which is the smart contracts, which are also automated communication, although we do not think about them as such. Why? Because we discussed yesterday, in a smart contract, what we do is that we automate consent. We automate the human behavior, anticipating our consent for a future situation in the next steps of the contractual relationship. And same we do with a lot of other elements that are automated inside a specific type of relationship. So for me, it's very important to go back and think a little bit, what is about questions? What is about questions that is important? And how this is related with technology nowadays? Well, first of all, there is a famous sci-fi author. I think everybody heard about Ursula Le Guin. And she has this famous quote that is, "There are no right answers to wrong questions." So the first thing that we do when we develop anything, including in our workshops of yesterday, a project, a potential project, a market for our product, a potential client, anything, it's related with a question that we form in our mind. So unless we form the right questions, we will never get to the direction in which we are to go. And I did some research in the last year about the art of questioning. And I went back to what are the type of questions that we have and how we can use them in order to successfully build something, how we can use them to build something in the technology world. And it's very interesting that we have to go back to philosophy in order to do something technological. But otherwise, we cannot actually arrive to the right answers. If you think about the human communication, the first element in the human communication is a very philosophical one. Who am I? I mean, I have to understand, for instance, I'm a professor talking with you today. I'm a law practitioner. I'm a colleague. I'm a mother. Which is exactly the me that I'm entering into when I'm preparing a speech for you. When you meet a client, you meet a client as a friend, or you meet a client as a seller. Do you sell, or do you connect, or do both? Okay? So it's always very important to define who you are in a communication. The second is who is the other. How do you look at the other? Is the other the same person that you look at? For instance, in the same communication, you look at the client as a client, and he doesn't feel as a client, he doesn't want to buy anything. He feels like a friend. And at the end, when he realized that the communication was about selling and buying, he felt tricked, he felt disrespected, he felt disconnected. So it's very important to realize which are the roles in which we are entering. And then we decide, what do we want? What is the type of project that we want to do? Do we want to build a service? Do we want to build a physical product? Do we want to use technology? Don't we want to use that? So what is that we want? But the problem is, what is the other wanting? So the same, we have to define what is the potential client wanting from us. As lawyers, usually the client wants an advice. Well, not true. Actually, most of the time, the client wants to confirm that whatever he's thinking about is correct. It's exactly as, so he is emotionally unfulfilled if you tell him you're wrong. So what you have to understand is what he wants, and then to try to adapt your advice as to how to reach that. You can't tell a client, for instance, as a lawyer, this is not what you can do. It's something different. It's, interesting, but I can tell you a legal way to achieve what you want. Instead of saying this is completely wrong, which of course it is, you can look at what he wants, and he doesn't want for you to contradict him. He wants for his profound wish to be fulfilled. So what is the path to get to that? Now, this is a little bit like, theory of communication. The problem is that nowadays we are not communicating with humans only. we are communicating, and not with animals only. I mean, everybody has a pet. I mean, I have a cat, somebody else has a dog, somebody else has a horse. Okay, well, let's let aside. But we have a new creature that we communicate with, which is a robot. So we have these chatbots, we have this conversational AI. At the beginning, some time ago, I tried to think of them as sort of pets. I said, okay, there is some embedded programming inside it, and then I can build something else in the relationship. You know, I can train that chatbot. So basically, it would be some half surprising, half predictable type of creature. And this is how I started to think about it. It was at the time of the emails, and when I was trying to help my students look at the emailing, like using pigeons to send correspondence. And Twitter, I think it was in the same mindset when they set up the name of the company. But nowadays, chatbots are doing much more. Because chatbots are sort of different creatures because they have different roles and they are perceived by us in different roles. If I think about the same questions that I put to you before, namely, who am I and who are you? What do I want and what do you want? This is extremely important in the relationship with robots. Why? First of all, because when we look at a robot, the me, the one who's interacting, it's pretty much the same as in the human relationship. No, which is the role? I'm interacting with a AI. I'm asking the ChatGPT, let's say, the question because I'm interested on personal level. Is it a professional advice that I'm looking at? If I'm asking the robot as a lawyer, most likely I would think about confidentiality. I would think about protecting the client's wishes, etc., etc. If I'm acting personally, I may ask him, I don't know, which is a nice restaurant in Berlin that I could go. And I would feel completely relaxed from the perspective of the typical questions of my role as lawyer. But the other, and this is very interesting, the other is not neutral. It may be that the technology is neutral from taxation point of view, but for human communication is not neutral. So, my first question when entering into such a communication is, who is the one that I'm communicating with? And I'm not speaking about the pronouns, a she, a he, a they. I'm speaking about whether it is an it or it is a she, he, they. Is it a human that I'm communicating with through the robot, or it is the robot itself? What is the role that the chat that I'm entering is to be considered? Example, I'm entering on the chatbot of a company, asking details about the functionality of that company, asking details about their loyalty program, real case, Canada, travel, airline. I ask some responses. They are given to me like frequent questions, robot type of communication. Very nice, but they are different than the company exact text into the terms and conditions. What the law said, and the judge said, well, you communicated with the company. It may have been a robot, but basically it's a legal entity that you communicated, which is humans, which means that that communication will produce effects, which means that the company is liable for whatever that robot responded to you. So you haven't had a tool for you to dig into the contract. That was the company explaining to you the contract through their technology, therefore it is the company that you're communicating with. And whatever the robot responded will prevail over whatever it was written in the contract. Because that explanation is a clarification of the contract coming from the company. So who is the robot? Is the robot your tool, or is the robot representing somebody else, a human being? And if it is your tool, then it's communication with an it, with an object. But if it is a communication with a robot that has this kind of role of being the interface of a human, then you're communicating with a human, although using technology. And that is very important legally speaking for responsibility. Second, it may be a mixture. It may be that you have a human cockpit into that type of AI. It may be that they have a certain number of questions to which you discuss directly, and then that is a human operator that's entering and typing for you. Some companies are making the distinction. I will connect now you to a human operator and you are going to enter into a texting with that. Okay, fine. At least you know that it is a human on the other side, although they are sometimes worse than the robot communication, but that's a separate thing. But thing is that Some are announcing that, some are not. The human communication at this moment is considered to be as important as, for instance, European Union with the new legislation on AI. It's focusing on identifying the one that communicates with you through a chatbot as being human or artificial intelligence, but European Union is just a part of the world. I mean, online we can interact with different companies from all over. The next. Okay, when you speak with somebody, if I put you my business card, usually I'm not doing that because people get confused, because I have a number of hats, you know. I give you, let's say, the professor and the practicing attorney, but I have other hats. So I disclose my hat. Usually I disclose it with different business cards. That's why I'm not giving the CV like full of it. But that hat is important because that hat is an assumption of the roles that we are playing in that communication. Seller, buyer, lawyer, client, friends. These are roles. If I'm disclosing my role, you're entering into your matching role. And then we both play in the same thing. If we don't do that, legally it's called simulation. And it can be simulation as a type of situation in which you embezzle somebody, you're tricking somebody, that is a criminal offense. You know, you pretend to be the representative of something and you're not. You pretend to be a lawyer and you're not, etc. Or it can be not necessarily a legal consequence, but it can be a personal consequence, namely that you have an inefficient communication in the end. You can't sell because the other one doesn't enter into the role of the buyer, and it doesn't ask the relevant question, and you're losing time because the other one is not asking the question as a buyer, but just a friend chatting about some nice things. So the kind of role that the AI is designed to fulfill in that communication, it's something extremely important for you to be able to have that efficient questioning, that efficient type of underlying the idea and staying with the direction that you want to stay in. And then, well, the question is, what is the persona of the AI? Which are the possible personas of the AI? For instance, with large language models, you can ask something like this because they are programmed to do so. Other type of AI may or may not be. Respond to me as you would be a professor and, you know, draft the answer to this question. Or answer to me as you would be a friend. Draft a letter as you would be a manager of a company. Draft this letter as you would be a close friend of the person that you're writing to. So these are roles. Some AI are entering into these roles, some are not. Because they are the software producers who are trying to train the AI in order to fulfill different roles. The typical one is AI assistant. Okay, the word assistant, I'm sorry to say, is the, how can I put it? Is the largest word ever. Because anybody can assist us. We can be assisted by a friend, we can be assisted by a professor, we can be assisted by a counsel. Anybody assists us in a way or another, you know. And that, we have assistance dogs, by the way. You know, we give it assistance in so many ways. So what is in our mind and what it is in the programmer mind as to the role of that assistant is very different. What do? What is the business card that you are given by the AI? When you're entering with a chatbot, how is that defined? I am your assistant. Okay, fine. Tell me more. What is exactly that you do as an assistant? Which are the limits, the ethical limits, the professional limits, the communication limits that you put yourself into this role? Because it's not defined, I'm your lawyer. If I'm your lawyer, okay, fine, I read the law and I see which is the role of a lawyer. But if it's an assistant, we don't have a law about what an assistant is and which are the limits, etc., responsibilities. So what of the persona of the AI is, it's extremely important. And then the next point. When I'm acting with somebody, I'm asking some general questions. All lawyers here are very accustomed with the cross-examination or examination of witnesses. The first thing that you try to ask is some personal questions. This is not to intrude that into that person's life. It's to understand what is the mental format into which that person deposits knowledge. It's a database that we try to extract information from. I need to understand the criteria in which that person is storing the information. So, are you a German? Are you a Romanian? Are you a Chinese? These are our cultural categories. that somehow will give me a hint how that memory is formed, which are the keywords, what are the type of biases that person has, I mean, how it's formatting to store information. Well, we need to do that with an AI as well. How are you built? What is your structure? How is that you are fed with information with? Do you get the information, do you like to read books or do you read by internet? Typical interview question. You know, why do you do that? Are you passionate about the books? I'm passionate about reading, yes, but what do you read? Blogs or do you read books? Then I know exactly how you form your information. What is your database? Same with a computer. What do you do? What is the kind of information that you ask? What is the database that you are trained with? Where do you get that? And then the next point. Why we talk with a witness? We try to see permeability. In that dialogue with the witness, we are trying to see, can we get information through alternative paths? We try to see it's an auditive, it's a visual, it's what type of memory that person has. Because if it is visual, we can drag that person slowly to the image that that person remembers, and it's a little bit difficult to pop out of the memory. For instance, you remember those flowers? Yes, I do actually. It was but what was behind those flowers? Oh, I think it was some grass. Yes, and in the grass, oh yes, yesterday it was a dog playing there. Okay, but the dog was alone. Oh, no, it was an owner. Oh, so you were not alone. Yes, oh, so there was a person there. Yes, but the memory goes like this. You have to dig into a computer in the same way, and especially if you're using the computer to drag information. If you want to get which is the best restaurant in Berlin, most likely it's a criteria that you will have to dig for it. If it would be a witness, I would say, yes, but you know, what is your nationality? Chinese. Okay, so most likely you would like Chinese food. Most likely, not necessarily. But anyway, I would assume that your database is somehow influenced in this way. Same with a database of a computer. Okay, Berlin, German. Okay, but if I would be an American tourist, what would be a typical restaurant that I might like in Berlin, considering that I'm rather inclined to comfort food of my own rather than to explore novelties? Or I change the question. What would be something that I would search if I would be in search of novelty? And I like novelty. So it's a type of bilateral communication. And we don't do that. We don't do that. We just consider that the chatbots are some sort of oracle of Delphi that are built by gods in order to respond to our deepest wishes that they know better than we know ourselves. And this is the assumption in this communication. It's not the assumption that we should have that one, it's as biased, that creature, is as biased as us or even worse. And it is as limited as us or even worse. Or if it is not limited, it's as weird as us or even worse. So we have to establish the link of communication. My suggestions. A practical tool. First of all, a part of philosophical questions, which are a must. Who am I? Who are you? And who is it, the robot? What do I want? What he wants. Because sometimes robots want. We do not realize that very easily, but they do want. When they are asking you different questions, how is your day today? Very nice. But they are measuring your mood. And when they are measuring your mood, they are going to sell you with advertising different kind of products. It's a wonderful day, great. You know, and they will start selling you products that are for happy moods, or recommend you songs that are for happy moods, or whatever it is that they will learn from that dialogue and adapt to what they want. And if what they want is to sell something, they will reply to you in order to sell that thing. If they are designed to collect information for databases, they will explain, oh, you're feeling wonderful. Why is that? Is it a good weather in your country? Are you usually enjoying nice weather? So it's a chit-chatting, but it's a collection of information you're discussing with a sociologist that is doing a market research. And that is also important. So my first tool for you is just establish the roles, establish the philosophical questions, and stay with that as much as you can, because otherwise it won't be a genuine, efficient communication. The second one is the following, which honestly, I find it really, really profoundly disturbing. For many years, working as a judge, arbitrator is a private judge for those that are not in the legal profession. Working as an arbitrator, I had to decide on cases in which I was experiencing a frustration that I was not able to see reality. I discovered that there is no other profession that is similar with archaeology as this one. Because I am presenting some evidence of the past, like little pieces of the past, and then I have to take a conclusion between two theories about how the past was, actually, and I have to choose, I like this theory or I like that one. I like the theory with Turkey, being the one who built something, or I have the theory with the Greeks building something. Okay, it's past. I have to look at that. I have to look at more closely to my culture. Is it Romanians who were there, or are there Hungarians who were there for a certain period of time in the past? And I presented some evidence, and then I have to decide. Okay, well, where is the problem there? The problem is that I'm never looking to the reality. I'm always looking to the reality as presented by, which means that I have to choose the reality that I believe to be in. This, that. We are now doing exactly the same with every single search that we are doing through AI. And what we are searching when we are searching for information, the information that we are given is the information that would be given by the story of somebody. The designer of the software itself, the data that is fed with, it's a story of the past. And if we are looking at this like that, we realize exactly how much we can rely on it. And we can rely on it. I'm not saying that we can't, but we can rely on it with cautious, because it's a story that is told to us, and it's not even a very good storytelling technique. It's a mildly good. We had a nice chat yesterday on that one. It's a mediocre one, so we will have that. In the end, it's another quote that I wanted to share with you. It's like this. It's very interesting. It's from Werner Heisenberg. And it says like this: what we observe, it's not nature itself, but nature exposed to us by our method of questioning. So what we see is not what is shown to us. What we see is what we ask to be seen or to be shown to us. The way in which we are addressing question is the way in which we choose the reality that we want to see. The way in which we choose the person to talk with, the robot to talk with, the AI to talk with, that is the way in which we choose to see the reality. It's very important, I would say, and I will leave you with this hope that you will treat it also as important. Thank you.